going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hooper's Lounge featuring Max and myself. We're back with another week gone by of NBA action. We're now just over the month mark of the regular season. And unfortunately, injuries are continuing to decimate some of the top stars of the NBA, which is what we're lead off today. There's been a lot of great performances around the NBA, but there's been kind of five players who have separated themselves from the rest of the pack, with those players being Jokic, Shea, Luka, Wemby, and Giannis. Well, we've already seen Luka miss some time this year because of injury, and unfortunately, in the past week, both Wemby and Giannis have gone down with injuries. Wemby, I'm pretty sure, had a calf strain. Giannis had a hamstring strain. These injuries are not expected to be long term. However, they are expected to keep these superstars out for 2 to 3 weeks just to ensure they're healthy for the rest of the season. Just unfortunate to see two of the players that have been dominating this early stretch of the season go down. They've been among two of the best players to watch on two of the more entertaining teams. So, Max, what do you think about the injuries? What do you think this does, if anything, to the Bucks and the Spurs' hopes this year? How do the teams bounce back after this?
Yeah, I mean the injuries are obviously devastating. I think more so for Milwaukee. I was looking at the Spurs' recent games, and they're 3-1 right now without Wembanyama. So they've been seeming to be able to perform without him, and that just goes to show the talent they have on that roster beyond Wemby. I think Milwaukee Giannis injury obviously hurts a lot more. I think just based on the overall roster construction of those two teams, but I'm glad that they're both minor injuries. I think Wemby, he should be back sometime in the next week or two. I'm not sure exactly the timeline for Giannis, but these injuries are nothing I'm too concerned about, and I expect them to hit the ground running whenever they come back.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like you said, these aren't long-term injuries. These are just minor strain that the teams are both being precautious with their superstar players. It does affect the Bucks more because the Bucks, as we've been saying all year, are Giannis-centric. They will win with Giannis and they will lose with Giannis, however, for better or for worse. And right now, the team's best player without him is Ryan Rollins. So that tells you the state that the Bucks are in without their superstar. So a bit of a tumultuous time. Bucks are currently sitting at 8-9 at the 11th seed in the East. They would currently not even make a play-in game. So they definitely cannot afford to have Giannis out for too much longer. They need him back so they're able to get back in the East playoff picture, which as of right now is shaping up to be more competitive and need a higher record for entry than the West. So that's a bit of a surprise considering what we expected at the start of the season. But yeah, the injury definitely affects the Bucks more. Spurs, they should be fine without Wembanyama. Like you said, they're 3-1 without him. They obviously are better with him. That's not the argument I'm trying to say, but with De'Aaron Fox, with Stephon Castle, with Dylan Harper, they have a lot of good to great guard talent that can help stem the tide while they await their superstars' return.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to your point on the standings, I had the same takeaway. It seems that the East is a lot deeper this year with a lot more teams that can make the play-in tournament and, scratch and claw their way into the playoffs, where when I look at the West standings, I just think they're very top-heavy. I think the top four seeds in the West, I think, would be the best team in the East right now, which is absolutely insane. But I think maybe with the exception of the Lakers, I think the Nuggets, the Rockets, and the Thunder are all better than Detroit right now. So it's just crazy how the West is so top-loaded. But I agree, the East right now, in order to get into the play-in, you're going to need to have a good record and probably be above 500, which is something that we probably didn't anticipate at the start of the year.
Yeah, and again, the year is still early. There's still plenty of time for that to change and for the West to emerge, as we all expected, as the more talented conference. But right now, the Bucks are out of the playoffs at 8-9. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies in the West are in the playoffs right now with a 6-11 record. So it's right now, that's a sizable gap. That's nothing small either. On the topic of the standings, looking at the East, the number one and the number two teams in the conference are the Detroit Pistons, currently on a 12-game winning streak,
Yeah.
and the Toronto Raptors. Just as we all expected, right? Just like all of us predicted. Nothing, no surprises there.
Yeah.
In all reality, this is absolutely insane. This just the start of the East. Again, we're only a month in. We're 16 games in. We're almost a fifth of the way through the season. Still lots of time for things to change. But the Pistons on a 12-game win streak, sitting at 14-2, and the Raptors, who most of us pegged as a borderline play-in team, sitting in the second seed. That the tides are very much changing for these two franchises in terms of going from rebuilding. Maybe we can sneak into the playoffs to maybe we can win right now. Maybe we can win this year. And I don't know. These are two teams that have a lot of assets as well. So if a disgruntled superstar were to become available at the trade deadline, I mean, the Raptors have shown they're not scared to make a big move with the Kawhi trade they made 6 years back. Um, yeah, the East is just an absolute whirlwind right now, with a conference full of surprises that start the season off, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I can't tell if the East, at least the top couple teams, I can't tell if it's that they're good or that the other teams like the Knicks and the Celtics and the Magic are just off to slow starts. Like, I can't tell what it is. Are the Raptors really this good? Or are, the Celtics and the Knicks and the Magic, like I just mentioned, are they just, taking the first month and a half to get used to their new teammates and the new coaching staffs that they may have and all that stuff? I am sold on Detroit, though. Detroit, I think, will finish the year as a top 4 seed just because of how well Cade Cunningham's playing. He's a top 10 player in the league right now, and I think that is really not up for debate. And when you look at the rest of that roster, I think they have a clear-cut second all-star right now in Jalen Duren as well. So I think Detroit is for sure legit, and I think they will finish as a top 4 seed. For Toronto, though, I haven't watched them play enough, so I don't know how they're playing, but I do know their roster is good on paper, and they're very well diverse with different skill sets, guys that can shoot, guys that can play defense, guys that can, play off the ball. So it'll be exciting to see how Toronto plays. I envision them being very similar to Chicago, how that, Chicago had a great first couple weeks and then they kind of slowed down, whereas Toronto had a first couple slow weeks and now they're heating up, and I think you can expect Toronto to fall back to the 500 camp the rest of the year. So it'll be interesting to see where they finish. But I think right now you have to sit there and say that these two teams are the best in the East right now. And there's a big game tonight. Toronto hosts Cleveland tonight. So that should be a really good test for them. RJ Barrett, I think, is out tonight, but they should be competitive in that game, and maybe they'll get the win.
Yeah, that should be a great barometer to test whether or not the Raptors are a legit threat to compete in the East. Looking at the record, though, they're 12-5, which is only a half game behind where the 12-4 Lakers and Nuggets are tied for second in the Western Conference. So I don't know how their strength of schedule looks compared to those two Western Conference teams, but they're very comparable to two teams that you mentioned would be among the elite teams, if not the best team in the East. So Raptors, I don't think they're going to finish as the number 2 team in the East this year, but I think they are more talented than the Bulls. I mean, Scotty Barnes has an all-star game on his resume, and the trio of him, Brandon Ingram, and RJ Barrett, they can play the 2 through 4 position and provide length. They can provide shooting. They can provide spacing. They can provide slashing. That is a very difficult offensive trio to stop because of the length that they provide. You have 3 players standing at 6'10" or higher, playing at the shooting guard through power forward positions. That's a tough matchup. I mean, Detroit, looking at them, I completely agree with what you said about Cade and Jalen Duren. Duren should make his first All-Star game this year, assuming good health. And Cade, I was high on the Pistons this offseason. I had them as the number 4 team, and I expected Cade to make the leap into an All-NBA player. Well, Cade right now is looking like a borderline MVP candidate. And the only thing that's stopping Cade Cunningham from being in these talks is the absolutely absurd starts to the season that Jokic and Shea are off to. If they had normal for their standard season, we'd be talking about Cade right alongside with them. But I think it is only a matter of time before Cade starts putting up those elite numbers of his own and is able to work his way into those conversations. Maybe it won't happen this year, maybe it won't happen next year, but it will happen soon.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made this season alone that Cade's been the second best guard in the league behind Shea. I think you could argue that he's been better than Luka with the injury issues with Luka and just the overall team success.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I think there's a way you could argue. I mean, obviously the Thunder are 17-1, so I think Shea right now has separated himself as the best guard in the league. But I think you could argue if you wanted to that Cade's been the second best guard in the league this season, and I love watching him play. I loved watching him play in college, and when he got drafted to Detroit, people didn't know how his career would pan out, but I am really looking forward to how the rest of the season and career unfolds because he's very fun to watch.
You mentioned the Thunder, and I do want to talk about the Thunder for a little bit because I don't think we've had a long, in-depth conversation about what the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing since the season has started. This Thunder team is not only 17-1 right now, but they are on pace to obliterate the record that they set last year for point differential. They're beating teams by on average of something like 16 or 17 points this year. And last year they set the record by beating teams by an average of 12. The dominance that the Oklahoma City Thunder have showed to start this campaign is unbelievable. And it made only all the more unbelievable by the fact that they're missing a top 15 player last year, a third-team All-NBA, two-way forward superstar in Jalen Williams, who last time we saw him was putting up 40 points in the finals. So the fact that the Thunder are 17-1 without arguably their second best player is absurd. Shea is averaging 30 points on the year. And there's a statistic that was floating around Instagram for a few days. He hasn't played in 10 out of 17 fourth quarters. He has not touched the floor. And yet he is still averaging 30 points a game. And another argument is, oh, free throw merchant. Shea is not top 5 this year in free throws attempted per game. He's getting his points ethically. He's mid-range is looking as unstoppable as it ever is. His drives to the basket, nobody can stay in front of him. We both picked the Nuggets to win, and I still feel decent about that pick. Jokic is off to an otherworldly start, but I almost feel dumb for not picking the Oklahoma City Thunder to repeat because they are looking like head and shoulders like the best team in the league.
Yeah, right now they are. I'll give you that. And also, I'm the number one Shea hater on this podcast. I definitely give Shea his fair share of slack. And I have to admit that he's been balling recently. I've seen that he has not been shooting a lot of free throws. I've been seeing that he's dropping 30 and sitting his ass on the bench. I mean, the Thunder are on pace for a historic season, not only in point differential, but also wins. They're on pace to finish 77-5, I'm pretty sure. Which would
I didn't even mention that.
Which will smash the Warriors 73-9 record set with the KD and Steph Warriors. So yes, this Thunder team is amazing.
The year before KD, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, the year before KD, but
well, you're the Warriors fan here. What's going on?
All the good years, they just get jumbled up. You know, I can't keep track of them.
Okay. We get it. You were a fan of a dynasty. We get it.
Yeah, but back on topic to the Thunder, who are slowly becoming a dynasty. I agree. They have been far and away the best team in the league, and it's almost like they're untouchable. Like teams get on the court and the game's over by halftime. Forget the fourth quarters. Like the game's over at halftime. It's insane. And obviously you mentioned the greatness of Jalen Williams. He's going to make them better, I do believe. It's hard to be better than they are right now, but I do think he'll make them better. However, I still trust Jokic in a 7-game series, I think, over Shea. Because of what happened last year, I don't see Jokic losing to the same team twice in a 7-game series. And that's just kind of my thought process. And part of my prediction of Denver was I had them getting the 1 seed, so I figured that series would be taking place with Denver having home court. I think it's going to be very difficult to beat Oklahoma City in the race for the 1 seed this year. But Denver just has so many dudes. And I think Oklahoma City's depth, I do think, is worse than it was last year. Call me crazy saying that. I think A.J. Mitchell's a lot better, but I don't think anyone else is really better than they were last year. I think Caruso is not as good as he was last year. Aaron Wiggins not as good as he was last year. I think A.J. Mitchell is better, but the depth of the Thunder is not as good as it was last year.
We need a halt right here. How are you going to say the depth isn't as good when the Thunder right now are sitting at 17-1? They're off to a better start than they were last year. They're breaking their point differential record that they set last year, and they're doing all of this without their second best player. Right? I don't think there is an argument to be made that their depth is worse. If their depth got worse, that would mean Shea would have to be playing even better. But he's not. His stats are the same as they are last year. So that means that other players are stepping up. You mentioned AJ Mitchell. Yes, AJ Mitchell off the bench is going to be a sixth man of the year candidate, judging by how he's played so far. But Aaron Wiggins has stepped up. Alex Caruso looks just as good as he looks in the playoffs. Hartenstein has done an excellent job backing up Chet Holmgren. And that is the reason that this team is sitting 17-1. That in the elite defense that the Thunder play are the reason that this team. The depth has not gotten worse. I mean, you can look at their net differential, you can look at their record, you can look at their any stat you want. But I don't think that argument can be made that Thunder's depth is worse.
I just think when you go to a championship, your depth is bound to get worse. Now the Thunder are very young. However, I don't believe in Chet Holmgren really a lot. I also don't believe in their bench other than AJ Mitchell and Caruso in big games. He will show up. I want you to know, though, that if Caruso is guarding Jokic in the playoffs again this year, that will not work. That will not work.
No, it will not.
That will not work. So, again, the Thunder, I think Shea's playing better this year than he was last year. And I think that's why we're so amazed by what Oklahoma City's doing. Now, I'm not saying he's carrying the Thunder because that's not true. But I do think he's playing better than he was last year because he has to without Jalen Williams. Once Jalen Williams comes back, I think that will reset everyone back to their, rightful roles. And maybe that will make the depth players look better. But from what I've seen on the offensive end, obviously their defense is great. But on the offensive end, I'm not inspired by anyone other than Shea and AJ Mitchell right now to go score for Oklahoma City.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on Chet Holmgren because of the rough playoffs that he had. I do want to see him perform in the playoffs, but in the 17 games or so that he's played in the regular season, he has looked like he has made an offensive leap. He is shooting a lot more consistently. He's knocking down open three-pointers, which he struggled to do at a lot of points last year. I do want to see it in the playoffs, though, before I'm willing to give Chet the distinction of being an offensive weapon. And yes, the Oklahoma City offense is not their strength, but their defense is not just good. It's not just elite. It is historically one of the best defenses in NBA history. I was watching a video on YouTube a few days ago that was talking about a stat that it was something like estimated defensive rating, where they take the average points allowed per game in that era, and that's how you're able to compare defenses across eras, by comparing that team's points per game with the average points per game of that era. So the Spurs with the Tim Duncan, the David Robinson, the big three pop Spurs, their best was it was 7.5 or something like that. The bad boy Pistons, or the 04 Pistons, who are often described as one of the best defenses in NBA history, tapped off at like a 7. The Oklahoma City Thunder were at like a 10 or 11 in this statistic, this relative defensive score, which is by far and away the largest differential in history from what the average defense is letting up to what the Oklahoma City Thunder are letting up. I don't know if that explanation made sense at all, but what the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing defensively is historically elite. And they might go down this year as one of the greatest defenses of all time.
Yeah.
If they win the finals, it's not going to be the strength of their offense. It is going to be this historically good defense that gets them there.
Yeah, no argument there about their defense. I just want to take you through their schedule so far. So they're 17-1 right now. I want you to tell me how many good to great teams they've played so far. All right. So they started off with Houston. Their next 5 games were then against Indiana, Atlanta, Dallas, Sacramento, and Washington. Then you come into November. They started November with New Orleans, the Clippers, Portland, Sacramento again, Memphis, Golden State, the Lakers, Charlotte, the Pelicans again, Sacramento again, Utah, and Portland again.
Okay. These teams are not great, and I'll give you that. The one loss that they had to Portland came by 2 points, and they had 2 double overtime games to start the year. Aside from that, no matter how good or how bad the teams are, the Thunder are winning by 20-plus points. I don't care if they were playing the Pelicans, or they were playing the Warriors, or they were playing the Lakers, right? They're winning by 20-plus. Mm-hmm. So, yes, the Thunder are going to face better teams as the season goes on. Yes, the Thunder are probably going to go into an offensive slump that maybe loses them an extra game or two. Yes, the Thunder are probably not going to finish the year winning 77 regular season games. But with that being said, the point differential that the Thunder have, the defense that they've shown, and the way that they're able to still blow teams out without Jalen Williams shows that it does not matter who this Thunder team plays. When they are healthy, when they are on their game, I do not think there is anybody that can beat them. They will play harder teams. Their record will not. They won't win 77 games, but I mean, they pass every single metric you can look at, aside from the strength of schedule test. But you can only play who's on your schedule, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not holding that against them, but what I'm trying to say is I am going to trust them and their depth, to my point, less when they're not playing Utah on a Friday night. When they're playing a team with a guy like Jokic or a team with a guy like Cade Cunningham or on a team with a guy like Giannis or Wemby, like these teams are going to start to figure out Oklahoma City, I think, as well as the star players. And I'm interested to see once they figure out how to stop Shea and how to score on this defense, where does the Thunder turn to? Right now, like you said, no one can stop Shea, but someone's going to figure it out eventually. I mean, like someone is going to figure out how to stop him when it matters. And so I'm interested to see who that will be and when that will be, because the Thunder are off to a great start. Their next game is against Minnesota on Wednesday night. So we'll see. That's a interesting matchup.
Yeah. Well, one more thing I want to say about the Thunder, and then we can move on from them because we've been talking about them for a while, is that we have seen teams stop Shea. I mean, Indiana in the finals did about as good of a job as you can at taking Shea Gilgeous-Alexander out of the game. He was still averaging close to 30, yes, but his shooting percentages were down. He wasn't as efficient as he usually is. I mean, that's about as much as you can do to take away Shea. The Pacers did as good as you can job. And what happened? Jalen Williams goes out for 40. Chet Holmgren has a few games where he puts up 25. And that's all the Thunder need to beat you, because their defense is still going to be as elite as ever. So as long as they have one player who has a decently good offensive day, that is all they need to consistently beat teams game in and game out. I think the Thunder are that good.
All right. Well, time will tell on the Thunder. I still think they have a lot to prove to become a dynasty, as most people are pegging them, but they're on their way, slowly but surely. The last thing I do want to say about the Thunder, they currently hold the Clippers pick, and the Clippers are terrible. So the Thunder getting another top 5 pick would probably mean the world is coming to an end.
Yeah, we are a James Harden injury or a James Harden come down away from the Thunder truly being a dynasty. Yeah. Because James Harden turning the clock back to 2018 Rockets James Harden is the only reason the Clippers are not the worst team in the league. I mean, the past couple of games, Harden has looked like he has re-entered his prime. I mean, I think his most recent game, he had 55, which this is James Harden we're talking about. 38-year-old James Harden basically playing on one hamstring, still putting up double nickels against NBA defenses. It is awesome to watch, first of all. And second of all, it is the only thing keeping the NBA parity alive. Because if the Thunder win the championship this year, and then they're able to add an AJ DeBonsa or Darren Peterson or Cameron Boozer, yeah, just give them every ring until 2030. The league is over, man. That would be stupidly unfair.
You might see some
for Sam Presti outside.
You might see some teams sacrificing their players to create another super team to stop the Thunder. You may see Wemby and Jokic have to team up for a season, just for 1 year, just so Oklahoma City doesn't win a championship.
Okay, if there were to be a superstar duo that teams up, I would love to see Luka and Jokic play together for at least a year. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That would be cool.
I think those two together would be one of the very few ways that Oklahoma City can be stopped.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right, let's get into. I want to get into the bottom of the conference a little bit because yes, you mentioned the Clippers, but I think the West bottom of the conference is not at all what we expect it to be. I mean, the Clippers, we talked about them sitting at 5-12. The Mavericks sitting at 5-13. The Kings sitting at 4-13, looking to blow everything up. Meanwhile, we have teams that were expected to be bottom feeders, the Suns, the Trailblazers, and the Jazz, who are near play-in teams to playoff teams. So, I guess there's two I want to ask you about. One, the Suns, sitting at 11 and 6. I was really low on the Suns. You were higher on the Suns, but still we're not expecting them to be a straight-in playoff team.
No.
Do you think this is sustainable? No. Why not?
Well, no, I don't think it's sustainable, but I had them right in the play-in tournament, and I think that's where they'll finish. I think they're exactly what I imagine them being. Devin Booker is good enough to win them enough games, and Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green are not awful. Like, they're not terrible players. It didn't work out in Houston for Jalen Green, but those guys have been on winning teams before in the regular season. Their big men depth is better than people give them credit for, with Mark Williams and the kid from Duke. I'm blanking on his name.
Malawach, yeah.
Yep.
Malawach.
So, I mean, those two, that's a fine duo. And Devin Booker, again, is still a top 15 player in the league. Like, there is no stopping Devin Booker when he's hot. Like, there's no stopping him. So, Phoenix 11 and 6, 5 games above 500. That's probably where they'll finish. I am selfishly anticipating the Warriors to get better, but they are continuously losing games they have no business losing, which is really concerning. And I do think a team like the Warriors and a team like, I think Minnesota is also below Phoenix, if you could double check me on that. But I expect both of those teams to jump Phoenix eventually, but neither one of them have shown me anything of like promise right now. So I'm not sure where Phoenix will finish, but I'm the same as I was at the beginning of the year, is right where I am at Phoenix. They're going to be competitive. They're going to make the play-in tournament, and they're going to be a tough series to beat because you're going to have to deal with one of the best scorers in the league, night in and night out.
Well, Phoenix is currently sitting at the 6th seed, and then the Timberwolves and Warriors are right behind them at the 7 and 8 seed, respectively. You also shouted out Jalen Green, who has played one game this year for the Phoenix Suns. So
yeah, shout out.
I don't think he is in large part to credit for their success. I think that is Devin Booker, that is Dylan Brooks, that is the two big men. That's the depth you talked about. Something that the Suns struggled to acquire while they were superstar hunting, while they were chasing rings with Chris Paul and Kevin Durant on their team. They had no depth. Now they have a lot of strong depth pieces to surround Devin Booker with. Looking at the Suns roster, I thought it was going to look like a lot like Devin Booker's early career, where he was scoring, he was putting up numbers, but these numbers were typically called empty stats because they came in losing efforts. I thought it was going to be a very similar story. But Devin Booker's game has matured as he experienced what it was like to be a contender and what it was like to play in important games. His ability to set up teammates and give them good opportunities to score had dramatically improved from the last time the Suns were a lottery-bound team pre-COVID. And that overall boost to his game has just made everything offensively so much easier for the Phoenix Suns. And I severely underestimated the impact that Booker will have coming into the season. I had them as the 14th team out of 15 preseason. I am eating those words. I will say it right here. That was a false take. I am wrong, and I think the Suns will emerge as a play-in team. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. I think they would finish as like the 9th team. They would lose in that final game for the last playoff spot, the 8-9 matchup. And even if they were to get into the playoffs, I think they would be an easy first-round sweep for either the Thunder or the Nuggets. But this is progress for the Suns. Depth is something that they've had a hard time with. They don't have their control of their first-round picks. They have no incentive to tank. So they're just trying to win. And winning is what they're doing right now. So good on Devin Booker. Good on the Phoenix Suns. The second team I wanted to ask you about is the Sacramento Kings, who I was lower than you were in the preseason. And yet they are doing even worse than I thought. There are reports coming out that they are looking to blow it up to enter a full-on rebuild, and that everybody except Keegan Murray and Nick Clifford are available to trade. So my question for you is, do you think the Kings are going to blow it up and trade away Sabonis, DeRozan, LaVine? And if so, what teams do you see these players being potential fits for?
Great question. First off, I just checked my notes from that episode of predictions. We both had the Kings missing the play-in tournament altogether. So they are kind of right in that bracket of trash that we predicted them being in. And
that bracket of trash.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where we had them, and that's where they are now. I do think they'll blow it up. I think Sabonis is an interesting one because I think a lot of teams would want a guy like Sabonis, and I think it sucks that the Pacers are bad, but I think him reuniting with Indiana would have been really interesting. It stinks that they're bad, and I don't think they'll trade away assets this year because of how bad they are. But it would have been interesting if they were competitive, if they got Sabonis back after losing Miles Turner. I think that would have been an interesting fit. As far as DeRozan and Levine, I think Levine is the more attractive prospect to trade for just because of his two-way ability and his athleticism that's still there. I think DeRozan is a very one-dimensional player at this point in his career, very similar to Brandon Ingram. I think Brandon Ingram's better, I think, than DeMar DeRozan now, but those two players kind of strike me as the same, where they need the ball in their hands and they need to go, one-on-one to score. They don't have a lot of versatility to their game. And so I think for that reason, I think Levine's better off the ball. I think he's better around the rim. I think he's better on defense. So for that, I think a contender would love a team to grab Zach LaVine. And that's why I'm going to throw out the Warriors, because they've been linked to Zach LaVine for what feels like the last 3 years. And they have not made a move for him. Well, now's the time. You trade Jonathan Kuminga's ass away, because who knows what's going on there. And whatever else needs to happen to get Zach LaVine. And I think he would fit well in the Warriors, very similar to how Jimmy fits. You are going to play off the ball, and you are like the number 3 option, and you're going to be a good contributor to this team. So I think the Warriors would be a great fit for LaVine. DeRozan, I don't really think he fits on any contending team, to be honest, just because of his play style. The only team I could think he fits on is Oklahoma City. That ISO kind of mentality of, and I think DeRozan coming off the bench would be amazing for Oklahoma City. If just imagine the starting backcourt being Shea and Williams, and then off the bench you have to guard AJ Mitchell and DeMar DeRozan. That to me would be a decent fit, I think. But I just can't think of any other team that would trade for DeMar DeRozan. I think he's probably the least attractive of the 3.
Yep, I agree with you. I think LaVine is the only one of the 3 that indisputably has a positive trade value. Sabonis, he's a little complicated. I think Sabonis, okay, to allude to Pokemon, if Jokic is Charizard and Şengün is Charmeleon, that makes Sabonis Charmander, right? And of course, you want a Charizard on your team. That's what's going to win you a championship. You want Nikola Jokic. You're not going to be winning any NBA championships with Charmander. Sabonis, he has his strengths, right? He is a good offensive center. He's a great rebounder. He's a good playmaker. But his main weakness, and it's a very notable one, is defensively. He is among the worst rim protectors in the league. And for a center, on a contending team, that is almost a required skill to have. You need to be able to protect the rim. Unless you're someone with truly the offensive capabilities of Jokic. But he's an anomaly. Not everybody's Nikola Jokic. And Sabonis' value comes on the offensive end of the ball, not defensively. He's a straight up net negative on defense. And I think teams hoping to contend are going to recognize that and not be willing to part with first round picks, a young talent, for Sabonis, who's only going to really make you better on one side of the floor. DeMar DeRozan, I agree. I do not think that he suits any contender. However, I saw a report yesterday saying, out of all teams, you're going to laugh at this, the Los Angeles Clippers have an interest in DeMar DeRozan.
Of course they do.
Why? They already have Chris Paul. You already have Bradley Beal. You already have Brook Lopez. You already have Kawhi Leonard. You already have the oldest roster in the NBA. You're building a retirement home, and now you're looking to add a washed DeMar DeRozan. What is that going to do? That's not going to help you win games. That's not going to make your team any better than it already is. So I do not understand what the Clippers are doing right now or what their plan is for this year. But regardless, yeah, I don't think DeRozan really suits any contender. I think Sabonis is a very niche skill set, doesn't really fit any contender. And LaVine is just a bucket. I mean, he's a scoring machine. He's a 3. He can score from all levels of the court. Yes, defensively he's not as good, but unlike DeRozan, he offers a lot more offensive versatility. So LaVine, he would definitely be good on the Warriors or any team that needs that bit of a scoring punch. And I do expect the Kings to blow it up as well. I mean, the Kings this year have literally zero playmaking ability on their roster. It's just iso ball over and over and over again. And it would be very nice if, they had someone like, I don't know, De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Halliburton or an elite playmaking guard or something like that, If they had one of those two players, that would be great. If only they didn't trade away two all-star point guards, then the Kings would be in a great spot right now. But Sacramento is going to Sacramento, so now they're going to blow it all up and probably miss the playoffs for the next 16 years again.
Yep, we'll be lighting the beam in 2040, so get ready for that. There's no reason for them not to blow it up. So another team I thought of off the dome for LaVine that fits, in my opinion, is Detroit. I think they could go get Zach LaVine. I think he'd definitely be an upgrade over Tobias Harris, for example. Like I think LaVine would be an upgrade in that department. So they're a team to look out for as well. Sabonis, yeah, it's tough. Maybe like a team that I thought about maybe was like the Knicks, but I think they're happy with Mitchell Robinson and Cat. So
Yeah, I mean, Cat is a better offensive center than Sabonis is, and they have a lot of the same issues on the defensive end. So I don't think acquiring Sabonis is going to make the Knicks, any better. I think Cat basically can do anything Sabonis does.
I just think it would help the Knicks. The Knicks have had a problem recently in the playoffs of having a stagnant offense, and I think Sabonis would really help facilitate that and give Brunson a bit of a boost in terms of the playmaking. Obviously, they have scores, but Sabonis would help. But I agree, on defense, it would be a nightmare. Brunson, Cat, and Sabonis on the court at the same time would be a defensive nightmare.
They would have to average 140 a game in order to win series.
Yeah, that would not look pretty.
Any other teams in the NBA, players in the NBA stood out to you that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about our boy LeBron. He's back. So welcome back, LeBron.
Very good point. Very good point.
I watched him in his return game. He looked pretty average, but that's about what I expected from a 40-year-old coming off a back injury. I wasn't expecting him to dunk on people. And I just had one question for you based on the Lakers. LeBron's been back a couple games, and LeBron and Austin Reeves are kind of averaging the same amount of shots per game since his return. So who do you think the true number 2 option is on the Lakers behind Luka? Is it Austin Reeves or is it LeBron James?
Okay. I will have 2 different answers for the regular season and the playoffs. Regular season, I think the Lakers and LeBron James are truly comfortable letting Austin Reeves serve as that number 2 option. I mean, Reeves needs as many opportunities as he can get to grow and develop. I mean, every year he seems to unlock more and more of his potential. He seems to show that he has a higher ceiling than what we originally thought he had. And I think it's very good for the Lakers as a whole to give Austin Reeves these increased opportunities and see what he's capable of in the regular season when the games don't matter as much. LeBron, for his part, with the age that he's in, seems very comfortable sufficing as kind of a super playmaker. He's truly... I mean, LeBron has claimed his entire career that he's always been a pass-first player, which... Okay, dude, you don't become the leading scorer in NBA history by being a pass-first player. But this year, he seems actually like he's leaning into the role of being that pass-first player and then letting Luka and Austin Reeves carry the scoring load offensively. And I think that'll be very good for the Lakers in the regular season, both in terms of getting their young players opportunities and keeping a 40-year-old fresh to the playoffs. But when the playoffs come, yeah, you're not letting LeBron fucking James be the number 3 scoring option. He'll be 1B right alongside Luka Doncic. Hell, there'll be games where he'll be the number 1 scoring option if Luka's not having a great night. It's LeBron James. You're not going to limit him in what he can do in the playoffs. So I think right now, yes, let Reeves show what he can do. Let him score. Let him have a career best year. But when the games actually do matter, yeah, let one of the greatest players in basketball history do what he does best.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only reason I said that is because I think it's smart what the Lakers are doing is while Austin Reeves is on an absolute tear, playing the best basketball of his career, just don't stop. Don't put an end to that. Let him keep going. Let him keep building that confidence. So that way when you need him in the playoffs, if teams are taking away LeBron and Luka, well, here comes Austin Reeves, 35 down your throat. Like, so I like that they're giving Reeves opportunities to still be a primary focus of the offense, even though LeBron's back. I think that's great coaching by JJ Redick, so I shout out him for that. And LeBron will be dunking on someone before our next episode. Predicting that. He will dunk on someone.
That's honestly bold prediction. That's a bit of a hot take. I'm not sure one I agree with, but as an NBA fan, I would love to see 40-year-old LeBron poster somebody.
It's
and
coming.
Fun fact: when he got rehabilitated into the league, he started on the Lakers G League affiliate team, the South Bay Lakers. And when he got called up, the player the Lakers sent back down to the G League was nobody other than his son, LeBron James Jr. So basically, LeBron is costing his son a job. Terrible fathering, not my goat.
Hey, but the money all trickles down somewhere, right? So he's helping and hurting his son at the same time. So Father of the Year, I guess, out of LeBron James.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other teams, players you want to discuss,
No,
or do you want to get into our crunch time?
No, we can get into crunch time. I just wanted to talk about LeGoat real quick.
Very good point. I cannot believe we didn't start the episode with that, talking about injuries. But shout out LeBron for overcoming sciatica. Me and him now have that in common. That's my twin for real. And let's get into this blind rankings.
All right. So last episode, Alex did a Where Are You From? Which is a very fun segment. I'm sure we'll be doing something like that in the future. But we put on hold our blind ranking of big threes all time. These are all-time big threes.
Ooh.
So
Big three. I like this, actually.
So this is going to be interesting because we kind of mentioned super teams and dynasties earlier. And so I thought this was a good idea. Now, some of these names on here, well, actually just one of them. One of these big threes, I think, is a clear-cut, worst of the bunch. But we'll see what Alex thinks. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right.
Now, these are all time. And looking at the list, this is a tough one. This is a tough one.
Okay.
We're only doing 5.
But these aren't
We're only doing
these
5.
aren't randoms though, right? We're not going to call Kemba Walker, Al Jefferson, and Gerald Henderson a big three.
These
right?
are notable big threes in the history of the NBA.
Okay, got you.
So, and we're only doing 5. Right. So this is a 5-team blind ranking. So first one up for Alex here is Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin, who all played for the Warriors back in the day.
I don't think this big three ever won a ring. That is the first place my head goes to.
I don't
Maybe
think
I'm mistaken.
I'm going to double check you on that, but I don't
think this big three for the Warriors ever won a ring together. And considering that you said that these are all-timers, I almost think that this is the one that is clear-cut worse than everyone else. Would you start with it? I'm gonna put this at 5. You know what? I'm gonna put this at 5. I feel like the next 4 are truly all timers, and they have at least one championship together. At least that's what I'm hoping.
All right. Well, I just looked, and you're right. Chris Mullins never won a championship, so I doubt he won one with Tim Hardaway and Mitch Richmond, since he has 0. All right. Next up, arguably the greatest big three of all time: MJ, Pippen, Rodman.
Okay. Well, they're definitely not 5, so I feel good about that. They're either 1 or 2. I just don't know if there's going to be a better one. You know what? You literally said arguably the best big three of all time while you were introducing them. I'm going to put them at 1. I'm going to take your advice. They're going at 1. And we already have our extremes out of the way. We need just middle of the pack now.
Yeah, I think I would have put them 1 in your position. I do think they're probably the biggest three of all time, or the biggest big three of all time. And just
biggest three.
Just the success they had together was undefeated. They literally didn't lose. They were undefeated when it mattered. They did not lose. So that's a good place to put them 1, and it'll be hard for anyone to argue that you're wrong with that. All right, next up, Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, and John Starks for the Knicks.
Okay. They're definitely better than the Warriors big three that you mentioned. I'm gonna put them at 3. I'm gonna put this Knicks big three at 3.
All right. So the Knicks big three at 3. We have 2 big threes left. Alex, how are you feeling? With 2 and 4 left, I think you have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, pretty good actually. I just needed it's just better or worse than the Knicks is what I'm going off of
So
with these next
next
two.
up, we have the Lakers big 3 of Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, and Andrew Bynum.
Put him at 2. Put him at 2. I'm feeling good. Put him at 2, and let me hear what my 4 is.
Ugh. Another Lakers big
Is
3.
Is it
Magic, Kareem, and James Worthy. So the Lakers, I hit you with back-to-back Lakers big 3s because there's
going with back-to-back Lakers was foul. That was foul. I didn't think you were going that route.
So he throws Magic at 4, but I think that was a pretty good list. And you were right. The Warriors big 3 that I started with, I think, is a tier below the other 4. But I had to shout out the Warriors.
I'm glad I put them at 5 because if I put them at 4, then I would have had the Magic Kareem Lakers at 5, and that might have led to me doing some very sad things. I don't know, but that would not have been fun. I'm happy with how the rankings turned out. If I could switch anything, it would be putting Magic at 2, Kobe at 3, and then Ewing at 4.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I got 1 and 5 right. Nobody cares what's in the middle.
True. I think you could also argue
that's what they all say.
Yeah, I think you could argue Kobe's big 3 is the second best on this list too. I mean, they won championships, so.
I would give it to Magic and Kareem, but yeah,
I mean,
the
too,
argument exists.
But I think you could argue
Ewing should have been at 4. He should have been 4.
Yeah.
But sorry, at the end of the day, happens to the best of us.
Yeah, good. Hey, good ranking. Clap it up for Alex there. That was ranking the big 3s, and we will catch you guys in the next episode where LeBron will have dunked on someone. Remember that. LeBron will have yammed on somebody. Probably the Pelicans. Probably the Pelicans.
Do they even play the Pelicans with him the next week?
All right, let me predict. I'm predicting LeBron will dunk on somebody. That's the official Hoopers Lounge prediction. Now, bonus prediction, I'm going to predict the team.
Okay.
So,
LeBron, you got to bonus predict the player as well.
All right, bonus. I like that. All right, so
if you get this right, like this should be like
all right, so
$1,000 parlay.
they play the Pelicans on Sunday.
Okay,
so all right, who is the starting? Oh, Trey Murphy's getting yammed on. No, Trey Murphy's getting yammed on. He's getting yammed on for sure. On Sunday, Trey Murphy III is getting yammed on by LeBron James. Absolutely. Book it.
All right. Well, I have never been more excited for a Lakers Pelicans game in my life. Now there are some stakes to this one, and I look forward to maybe seeing LeBron dunk on someone.
They'll probably.
That is it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you guys next time because NBA season's in full swing. We're a fifth of the way through. All-Star game is coming up in a few months. It's good. We're having a great time. We're having a blast.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah. Last thing about LeBron, they might load manage him against the Pelicans, so that might screw my prediction as well. So.
Before adding disclaimers to your predictions, I haven't even happened yet.
Hey, well, load management happens all the time. I think I have to throw that disclaimer in there. The Pelicans stink, dude. They might load manage him.
Okay, fair. Especially if that's on a back-to-back.
Yeah, I don't know if it is, but we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Peace out, guys.